Welcome back to KTN News Desk. I'm Michael Karanja. Now, every year we hit by headlines saying that this housing gap remains at about 300,000 houses per year. And just to help us address this question, I'm joined by Willis Ouma, who's the Technical General Manager at the National Housing Corporation. Willis, just to start over, obviously it's something that we always get to hear, that there's not enough houses for the population in Kenya. When you look at it as a corporation behind housing, how then does that come into play?
Of course, as we all know, the country's population has been increasing, and the increase in population has not been matched by the production of enough housing facilities for the people. And as such, there's a gap that currently exists, and that gap is still there and will be there for some time, because the production rate that we've been having in the market has not been matching the demand that we have year in, year out. Yeah. Of course, you mentioned a figure of 300,000 units that as a shortfall, but again, some of these is yet to be established fully. The exact number or quantum that is required, or the exact quantum of the gap as we speak. Obviously,
you mentioned that production happens to be, we're not producing houses as fast as the people are coming to the market. Now, when you look at that, what are some of the challenges that are causing that to happen? Is it that everything is not in place to allow faster production of housing to meet the demand?
I think it's much more informed by our preparedness as a country to be able to deliver on some of these. I think there has been a gap that has existed for some time, and it's much more informed by availability of resources that has been availed or applied within this sector of the economy, and that's why there's been a gap for this long.
And just looking at the way the National Housing Corporation works, obviously you're a state-run agency in some ways. Are you faced with the same challenges that private developers are facing, hence why you're not able to kind of meet that class of houses that perhaps most people require?
Of course, as we operate, we are like any other developer, although we are owned by the government. We basically go for the same kind of land like any other private developer. Yeah. We go for facilities, approvals. There is really no special arrangement that we have as a corporation that would make us be different from any other private developer. And as such, the challenges that private developers face out there are just similar to what we also face. Yeah. The only difference we have is that we are fully owned by the government. Yeah.
Just looking at that, I was reading somewhere that you do about 1,500 to 2,000 houses a year. Perhaps if everything was in place, what kind of targets is NHC looking at in terms of an adequate number to actually churn out on an annual basis, just as NHC?
I would take you back to our strategic plan. Yeah. For the year 2013 to 2017, we are actually proposing, or we planned to do about 30,000 housing units for that period. And for those units, we intend to deliver using different modes. There are some that we'll do directly ourselves, which is about 15,000 units, which are currently, some of them are currently started and ongoing. Yeah. There are those that we will partner with other people, whether private developers or government institutions, to be able to deliver. That's about another 15,000 units. So in that way, we believe that we can synergize with players that are in the same market with us to be able to deliver more units, and as such, be able to help in reducing the gap. As we speak, we've been in existence since 1953, initially as a housing board, but in 1967 we were converted to a corporation, and so far we've only been able to deliver for that period about 60,000 units, which translates to about 1,000 units per year. Yeah. But we decided that as a corporation we needed to do a little more than what we've done in the past, and that's why we decided to scale up our approach to be able to do the 30,000 units within the five-year period.
Willis, now that I have you here, I can't let you go without answering. We read sometime last month that National Housing is going after a 5 billion shilling bond. Perhaps is that underway? Have you already picked a team? And perhaps, because someone was saying that 5 billion for massive housing construction might not be enough, have you reevaluated that, or even thinking of going for more? Very briefly.
Of course, that is work in progress. Yep. We are certainly internally we have a team that is working on it, but we'll certainly be able to outsource some of the services to be able to help us put together the necessary instruments that would enable us source for the bond or and acquire the money for the work, acquire the money for our projects.
Yeah.
However, that the 5 billion that we're talking about is not enough. It's not sufficient, and we still require a lot more. But for now, we're looking at medium-term arrangements, and that's what we felt would be sufficient to be able to enable us meet our commitments that we already planned based on our strategic plan.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much. That's been Willie Soma, the General Manager for Technical at the National Housing Corporation, just telling us about some of the plans that they have for more or less addressing the housing gap that we always face in this country.